I can't fix myself. I can't make myself better. I don't want to. I've been so tired of like fixing myself, like, and being in control of everything, yet I had no control of nothing. So I was born in Latvia, and it was a communism country, and we had very little, I knew very little of God. Very little of God, maybe just in the family. Grandmother mentioned God now and again, but she didn't really like believe in it. Like, there was no God in our family. So my father had left when I was born. He had left me at the age when I was 2.5. So I don't actually remember anything of him. My mom just was sharing me the stories how he had been beating her up while I was in her womb. And then, so it was two of us for a while, just my mom and me. And then she had brought into the family. She met a man. It was my 5th birthday when she introduced me to him. And at that point, I think it was 3 days only passed, that on the 3rd day I asked him, can I call you my dad? So just to be clear, the person that will be speaking of is my stepfather, but I call him a dad. My brother was born when I was 6. The parents were alcoholics. The parents at the start, started innocently, they have job, have a drink on the weekends. But as we were growing up, it was just getting more and more. The time that they drank would be like, they could be drinking week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So there was very much of neglect in the family. Then it was just getting progressively worse. The father was losing jobs, one job, another job, third job. Even the living conditions were changing and getting like from better to worse. There were times that we were living in places that had no running water or the toilet. My father's mother, we were living with her. She really hated my mother, and she really hated me because I wasn't her grandchild. She was a very religious woman, and she even got myself and my brother baptized in a Russian Orthodox church. That was the only church that I was into while I was baptized. I never believed in anything. I had no choice but be baptized in this church. But she was evil person, and there was so much hate in her towards my mom. So because she was Russian, we were living in her apartment, so it was just a small space, like 4 of us would live in a small one room, which was the small room, and the other room was for her, but she was as well a hoarder. So the place was like very dark, like she had things that she would have brought home, like from bins outside. She had things up to her knees. She had a little walkway to her window and to her bed. And just like the whole apartment was just like really dark, like everything was on the keys. So when we were 4 of us in this small room, like the apartment was only 50 square meters, so we were like 4 of us living in one room. It was just a years of torture just living with her. There were things that she was doing, I cannot even describe how dark they were. It's just like there was these episodes that she used to have, like it was just living in fear, and then parents drinking because they didn't know how to cope with these things as well. We were living in fear. I remember times where she thought that parents were not at home, gone to work. So she would caught me in the hallway as I was going to school, and she just starts screaming, like, raising her voice and just starting jumping in front of me. And it's just like, it was just so much fear. So much fear. And she always would have used the name of God, and then she would curse you and say, die, and using like bad words, like, so it's just very confusing. Someone who is claiming that they are religious or believing in God, and yet in the same sentence they would curse you to death. I can't say I hated God. I really can't say that. I remember there was a time, because my brother is 6 years younger than me, so he would have been maybe, I don't know, maybe 3, 4, and I would have been maybe, I don't know, 9, 10. Two of us were coming from somewhere, and there was this Catholic church, and the door was open, and two of us just wanted to go in and maybe find some kind of a peace in there. There was no people in the church. There was no service in the church. We just needed to be in a church building, hoping to get some kind of release from the life that we had. Other than that, I didn't think of God. I didn't know Him. There was one moment in those years, I was feeling suicidal as well. I remember standing in the kitchen, just as a child, even having these thoughts. I think it's just really tragic, but I couldn't do it. I was just so sick of this lifestyle, their lifestyle. I was just so sick of it and so hurt that I was like, I had enough. I'm moving out. And because my mom knew she couldn't offer me anything, she was just like, yeah, that's fine. So I was in school, and I was doing really well in school. And I was getting this kind of a payment from the school. And I got a job as well while I was in school. So I moved out from the parents since I was 16. At the age of 17, I was visiting my mom. It was just visiting my mom for a weekend. And it was one of those times where they were again on the long drinking session. Mom was not even at home, drinking somewhere. But he had come down and he asked me to give him €1. He knew that I have money, and the euro was meant to be for the cheap alcohol that very popular in Latvia, where it's like homemade. He was asking me for that, and I was like, I'm not going to give it to you. And it continued for hours. And I said to him, I'm not going to give it to you. And in the end, I just lost it. And I was just like, here, have your euro, have it, and just go and do what you need to do. And only now that I look back, he said to me, forgive me. So a couple of hours later, Mom wasn't at home, nobody was at home. I found him dead. He did a suicide. He hanged himself. Few years before that, I found a letter that was written by my mom. Only afterwards, she admitted to me it was a goodbye letter. They both were going to take their life. Praise God, they didn't. But he did in the end anyway. Very difficult to read a letter like that. But then when my father passed, when I found my father, it was just heartbreaking, because I was the one just being so angry at him and giving him that last euro, and then I'm finding him like dead. He just hanged himself on a doorknob. I finished school. I met my husband. I was with him, and I had a child at an age of 20. But really, I just think it wasn't right for me to get. Now I know it wasn't right for me to get married with him. It's just on the wedding day, it's just so horrible. Like I knew that this is not the person I'm gonna spend the rest of my life, and it's just so selfish. I wasn't a good wife. I had been unfaithful. I had an affair with him for about a half a year, and after having my daughter, I fell pregnant second time. And I didn't know who the father was. I'm not very proud sharing these things, but I didn't know who the father was, so I had made a decision to abort the baby. I want to make it very clear to someone who is hearing this that abortion isn't just abortion. It is a killing of little human being that's in your womb. It's killing them, it's murder, it's not. It's not just an abortion only. Now that even I think it was about a year ago, I watched a video how abortions are happening, and they are taken apart bit by bit of that child in the womb. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that at the time. So after that, my husband decided to come to Ireland. So we came to Ireland. In a way, I was actually glad to get away from everything. That just reminded me of everything that's dark, and things were just not going good. I had been unfaithful again. It just came to the point where it's like, it's not working for us, and he really wanted to go back home to Latvia, but I couldn't return there. I just couldn't return there because it was just too painful to return there. So about a year later, I met a man. I really thought that I had fallen in love so much, it was just so toxic. We were on and off. I didn't know how to love, and I didn't know how to be loved, and I didn't know what love was. It lasted 4 years, and at the end of it, when it broke, the reason it broke was I was about 28 years of age, and my mom was really ill. She wasn't walking anymore. Eventually, she was brought to hospital, and in hospital, I kept in touch with them, but this one night I was told that she is not going to survive until the morning. And I went there, and she survived that night, and I went there, but what I saw just broke me so much. She was really underweight. She was tied to the bed. Her arms were tied to the bed. She was really underweight, and she was hallucinating. It broke me so much when I saw that scene, when I saw her being like this, because I loved my mom dearly, I really loved her. But it broke me, and I just hear this voice in my head, and it said, if you are not gonna end up this relationship that you're in, you're gonna end up like her. Now I know that this voice came from the Lord, and I couldn't stay there any longer. She wasn't better. She was still hallucinating, but she wasn't better. But I had to go home because I couldn't stay there. I had a child at home. So I came home, and I broke up with that boyfriend because of that voice that I heard, that if I'm not gonna break up with him, I'm gonna end up like her. So I came back, and it was the hardest thing that I had to do. My heart was shattered in millions pieces. It was the hardest thing that I had to do in my life. And after 4 years, he was in another relationship within a week. So that broke me even more. And I didn't know how to deal with this. I was so broken, and I strongly believe that there is many levels to the rock bottom, and this rock bottom was one of the big ones. At this point, I am so broken. It's just so empty inside, and it's so horrible inside. Anyway, next couple of months was just a blur. I was barely able to function. I was just so broken. So one night, I just don't know what happened, what came upon me. All of a sudden, I felt just this sense of like, I didn't even know what anxiety was, but I just got this extreme anxiety coming over me. The friends that I had in my life, I realized that I hadn't been real towards them. I hadn't been real, and because I wasn't real, I couldn't be real now with them. But I needed to speak with somebody, so I was just panicking, and I reached out to Samaritans. I made that phone call, and I just wept on that phone, and the things that coming out of me in that phone call to Samaritans was that I had been sexually abused by my father when I was 5. And for the first time at this point, when I'm making this phone call to Samaritans, I'm 28. And this is the first time I'm speaking about it. Another person who knew about it is in the grave. So now this has come up, and it has come up to me as a shock because it was buried so deep. I never thought about it. I never spoke about it. It was just there, but it was shaping me for who I was. I even being, it made now sense why I was, for example, unfaithful to my ex-husband. There were periods in my life where I would just be a woman who didn't value herself. Very extremely low self-esteem. I just didn't know how to say no. I even got married because I didn't know how to say no, but now it all made sense. Yes, now it made sense why I don't know how to love, why I don't know how to receive love. Like, I can't carry this any longer. I'm not a victim. I can't be a victim anymore because I just can't do that anymore. I can't continue being like this. You've no idea how much I hated myself for who I was. You no idea how much I felt just dirty. And I didn't understand why I was behaving the way I was behaving. Sometimes it's just like you think the men know that you are like this, and they just take advantage of you. It's like they can smell it from the distance, And I hated myself so much for this. I wanted healing, so I finished the phone call with the Samaritans, and Samaritans suggested, do you realize that you may need a help? I straight away, yes, I do need help. Where do I start? With this, that has come out. And we know how it is difficult to get in Ireland, counseling. And the Samaritan gave me the phone number to contact, and I contacted them. It was Thursday night I made call to Samaritans. Friday night I made a contact with this place. And on a Monday I had my first counseling session. That's, I think, if anything, I think it's a hand of God just looking after me. But the counseling sessions were only once a week. And I felt I didn't have enough. I didn't want to go on medication like antidepressants or anything like that. But they suggested that I do. It would be a kickstart. That it would be a kickstart for me to help me to deal with how I'm going to work on myself in the counseling sessions. So I agreed to take like very light antidepressants, and I was off them within 6 months as well. But I felt within me that it wasn't enough. Even that one counseling session a week wasn't enough. So I started searching on YouTube. And slowly and surely I got into these guided meditations, and for the first time in my life, they guide you to scan your body, and just the heaviness that fell off me. I didn't realize how tense I had been all my life. So it just physically, I could feel the heaviness fall off my body bit by bit, even just scanning my body and becoming aware of my body. I got a book called Secret from my ex-boyfriend's mother. The book is about, you can create your own reality with your thoughts. If you're thinking positively, if you're thinking, for example, that a nice letter with, I don't know, good letter is going to come into your post, it's going to come into your post. And if you're worrying all the time, basically the thought was, if you're all the time worrying about your bills, all the bills are just going to pile up. So you just don't think about them, and they're not going to pile up, they're not going to come. So that was basically the book. So I started to search just to figure out, who am I? There were so many guided meditations. I am that I've came across. I am this and I am that. And just this deep sense of wanting to know who I am and what's my purpose. So I started to search and going deeper with meditations, with various different meditations. I just don't know how to put it in words. When you start searching, the things start coming to you. And obviously, if you're on the wrong path, the wrong things are starting coming to you. So there is this questionnaire in front of me. You feel like you don't belong on this earth. Tick. You feel very deeply. Tick. You feel that you've been on this planet before. Tick. So all these things I was able to tick. I don't remember what was else in there, and praise God I don't. But there was all these things that I was like, yeah, that's me. That's definitely me. So the more you start searching, the more these things come to you. And I was searching for 10 years, but I could never explain what I was searching for. I didn't know what I was searching for. That truth. I was searching for truth. At some point it came to me that I need the truth, What that truth is and what it is, where it's coming from, I don't know. The further I got, the darker it started to get as well. So, for example, like Vipassana, that's like 10 days in silence. I don't remember, I think it was Italy as well. That was different type of meditation. I was just on a search to find something And there was another retreat that I did with another guru that was in Portugal. And that was 7 days in silence. And after every one of them, I feel I have like a dark night of the soul coming on me, like unexplainable depression. But it's like, in a sense, I try to justify it because it's like this stuff is working. This stuff is clearing So I thought all my pain, but because the pain is so much in there, I feel that's why it's so intense, and I justify it. While I'm searching for the truth, I'm loving the party lifestyle, and it's like every weekend, every single weekend without a break. And I also started to take like party drugs, and it just gave me like so much of a false confidence. I had become like very happy. Nobody bothered me in the nightclubs. Like if it was me in the past before the counseling, if somebody just came even close to me, I would get aggressive. But here I was like, these drugs are making me happy. I love that euphoria. Like I really love the party drugs, very much addicted of that lifestyle. The only thing I believe that kept me leveled was the fact that I had a daughter at home. And it didn't, I strongly believe that the Lord had given, that God had, now that I look at it, that God had given me my daughter just to keep me. I'm getting sick of this party lifestyle. I'm kind of getting sick of it. So the party lifestyle gets quieter, but I'm seeking more for that truth, and then seeking more for that truth. There's really not much to say. I'm just seeking, I'm just following the moons, I'm just charging the crystals. Although I even knew at that time they're not helping me. I'm just like trying to get anything I can get my hands on. And I mean that spiritually as well. I'm trying to heal, and I'm just trying to get better, but nothing is helping me. Like I'm realizing nothing is helping me. And then COVID comes, and I recognize it. I recognize it even growing up like in a communism country. I recognize it, and for the abuse that I had experienced, the manipulation that I have experienced, I recognize COVID to be a manipulation. And I start to share all these conspiracy theories like on my social media. But I had no hope. Like was so fearful of it. Like, there was no hope because all of these things, all of these conspiracy theories are real, like, but there is no hope. Like there is just absolute, utter hopelessness. And at that time, my mother gets really sick. She got a cancer. She got a cancer, I think it was August of 2021. And she is gone by October 2021. So she's gone. And that summer of 2021, I'm getting into darker things. So I went to ayahuasca retreat, which is psychedelics, like, and they sell you this thing that it's gonna heal you. It's gonna, like, I've done my research, like, I've searched so many like testimonies about people doing ayahuasca, and I thought that this definitely will help me. This is one of the last things that I'm gonna go to, and this definitely is gonna help me because it seems from the stories that I've heard that it's so intense, so it has to clear that all the dirt that's in me. And I do that retreat, and there were other substances that they offered at that retreat. and it didn't help me. So one of the things they tell you to do is to set an intention for this retreat, like what you want to get out from this retreat. So, and my intention was, I want to know the highest truth. I don't know where this question came from, but I knew everything else that I've known, it wasn't the highest. It's still, something is missing. I'm still missing something, and I don't know what that is. So I want to know the highest truth. Everyone gone sleep, and I just get like this experience where I just like get very dizzy, and just it brings up like it brings up again the memory of the sexual abuse that happened to me, and I just end up crying. But obviously that makes me think that this thing is working, because something is coming up again. The second morning that we all woke up, there was like this thing that we all come together and we share what was happening, and I share what happened to me, and I just see people start one by one, crying, because I opened up something in them as well by what I shared, and people around the room like crying and being like broken. So it makes you think that it works, that we're getting somewhere, but we're not getting anywhere. So on a second day, I had no experience, and on a third day, I was offered to take this 5-MeO DMT. They call it the God molecule. And the first 10 seconds I cannot describe. It was just something else. It was just first 10 seconds when I smoked that 5-MeO DMT. When I smoked it, but something very dark took over me. I had no control over it. I just could hear myself making very strange animal voices. And the next moment, I know the facilitators that are organizing this retreat trying to get me back to life. So they're tapping me everywhere, that I would come back. Like, come back is all I know. And it just left me so shook left me really shook after that retreat. Obviously, I didn't get the highest truth at that retreat. Now, I know spiritually, nothing is working. None of the things that I've tried, they work. None of them. I think after my mom's passing, I tried another one, which was breath work. I paid another, I think, almost 300 euros to do these sessions in my living room, because we're in the midst of COVID, and these Australian people are organizing, and the reviews are so good, and again it's just deep soul searching, and it's just like another one of these things, and it's not working. It's just not working. And I am left, it was January of 2022, and I'm left with just emptiness, broken, because I lost my mom. Everyone that I've loved have left me, and I was just like, this feeling of emptiness. This one day, I am going on my social media, and this video is different. He says, New Age is a deception. And he says, Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. And no one comes to the Father but by him. And something happened within me. Just I knew is all I needed to hear, that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. And I'm thinking in my head, if He is the way and He is the truth, and I had been asking for truth, and I know deep within my heart that He is the truth, no one needs to convince me. I now know that because He says He is the truth, no one needs to convince me that He is the truth. And another side of this realization is like, I had been so deceived for the last 10 years. Everything that I thought I knew, all these like secret knowledge that I had, just this deep understanding of like spiritual world. I would have called myself spiritual. Like I didn't know I was in the New Age, but in that moment I knew I was in the New Age. This is the moment I'm understanding that the last 10 years that I had been searching for the truth was the New Age. I didn't know anything about this Jesus, but I know something in my heart changed within that week, like in the space of that week before I took drugs. I had got rid of everything that was, I had got rid of everything that was in my house, that was like crystals or books or dream catchers, or like I had like posters and just like these statues and sculptures, and there was so much of it, like, and books on these things. I knew they cannot be in my house anymore, and I knew that all of it was a lie and I needed to get rid of it. Nobody told me to get rid of it supernaturally. Now I know, but at the time I couldn't understand it. Within 2 weeks, I had ordered my first Bible. I knew I had to read the Bible. And within about a month, I was just searching for the church that I need to go to. I knew I needed to be in a church. I didn't understand. It wasn't me doing all these things. So I come to the church and I know that this is where I need to be. I don't know how. I know how, but at the time I didn't know how. I was just drawn to be in the house of God. One foot in the house of God and one foot in the world. And that lasted for about maybe half a year. I remember there is this festival happening in Limerick, and I really want to go to it. But what happened was, at the start it was nice and I was having fun, but at the end of the night all the drugs had worn off. Even though I was just taking them, but they had worn off. I was just sober, all the drink had worn off. And I just remember DJ just stands up, whatever he was standing, but he would just raises up his hands and he just says, "Everybody put your hands up." And I'm like, this is not who I'm going to worship. At which point, I don't know, but I know that I'm not anymore who I was. And obviously all these questions are starting to come up. I'm starting to examine my own life. I'm starting to examine, even my childhood. Like, it's not because somebody did bad to me and I am the way I am. Like, those things affected me, yes. But it's not because of that. And I'm understanding that all my life, all the things that I've done, even that darkness in my heart that I was trying so desperately heal, it was my sin. And I knew And I knew I need a cleansing from that sin. And I know who can heal me, and I know the one who can help me, because I've been drawn to house of God. I've been drawn to God. I've been drawn to read His word. I remember first time when I read, "For God so loved the world, that He gave His only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth Him should not perish but have everlasting life." And I thought to myself, it broke me. Like the Bible says that the word is like two-edged sword. Like that scripture, that verse just broke me so much. Like I thought to myself, like I have a child, but I would never give it away. I thought I would never give it away just to help somebody. But God gave what was most precious to Him to save me, even when I didn't want Him. I couldn't believe. It's like I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it, that I could have been forgiven after everything that I've done, everything that I've been through, everything that I've done against God, that I actually can be healed and restored and saved and be accepted as a child of God. The life with the Lord is very different than the life in the world. He is there with me. He hears me. He knows my every tear. He is the only one that I can come to. If you told me a few years ago that I would be Christian, that I would call myself a Christian, I would have laughed at you. I really would have laughed at you. And now I just love the Lord. I love Him, and I want to love Him more. Every day, I want. He is just such a good God. He's just such a merciful God. I am going to see my child in heaven, and it's just, I just cannot. I cannot, the love that He has for me, is I cannot even describe my emotion, Jesus is my everything. Jesus, He saved me, He died for me, He cleansed me from all the filthiness. He is my best friend. He is only one that I can go to. Jesus is the love of my life. Jesus is really the love of my life. And I'm so, so grateful for that He made a way where there was no way out of this. I deserved eternal hell for the life that I lived. But He saved me. He was so merciful. Yes.